You know that feeling when you see or hear something that you did or said a long time ago that you now vehemently disagree with? Well, I figured I could turn this into a fun little rant video. So there is a particular video that I did 3.5 years ago in 2014, and well, it illustrates the danger of a little bit of knowledge, where you know just enough to think that you know a lot, but you don't know enough to realize how much more there is and how limited your knowledge and experience really is. Revisiting this also makes me really glad that I spent as much money into upgrading audio and video equipment as I did. Alright, let's give it a go. Okay, so in my sparring video, some people noticed that we've been landing a lot of quick cuts to the arms and hands. Have people also noticed that your sparring is amateur garbage? And there was some skepticism as to whether that would actually be effective. I'm surprised there wasn't more skepticism. So now you're going to address the objections by doing tests on some sort of semi-realistic flesh analog covered in sturdy fabric, right? Oh, for the love of... Of course, not a good analog to flesh and skin, but not many things are. Yeah, that's true. But come on, a frickin' squash? You might as well just punch a watermelon and then claim that your fist can smash a human skull. It's about as accurate. Let's just check the kind of quick cut that you would use to just get past the defense. So you mean a cut using just the arms with no core engagement and no follow through. And by getting past the defense, you mean trying to snipe someone's hands who's just hanging out in long point without changing guard. Oh, that is pretty deep. Too bad your video isn't. I cut a slice out of that. That's not a slice. That's a wedge. You better slice your calorie intake. Obviously your skin and flesh and muscles wouldn't react like that. Obviously that makes this test rather pointless. Pretty edgy though. Quick flick right there. This quick flick just demonstrates that a squash isn't even close to a halfway adequate test medium. Sure, this would cause a bleeding cut on a naked arm, but it likely wouldn't even bruise under sturdy clothing. Either way, in adrenaline-fueled historical combat, chances are the opponent wouldn't even notice that's a hit. The string just ripped and the thing fell off, so it cracked open here. Well, how fortunate that we're not built like gourds. Otherwise, people might crack their arms open just from vigorously pleasuring themselves. This is not too far from what the skin would look like. But yeah, this is not the most scientific test. Well, at least old foolish Skall has some self-awareness. If you can cover your opponent's arms and hands in a couple of those cuts, they will have a really hard time being effective in combat. And that's kind of the death by 1,000 cuts mentality. Well, this might appear like sound logic, but somehow the tactic of defeating the opponent by spamming them with paper cuts is not shown in the historical manuals. You know, unless we're talking highly regulated duels that weren't supposed to end in death, like in Polish saber fencing, for example, between nobles, where if you end up putting your opponent 6 feet under, you might get sued by their relatives and might be in a lot of trouble. So in that case, scoring a bleeding cut to the hand or the face would be viable and would officially end the duel. But the techniques shown for self-defense and duels to the death are generally delivered with the intention of ending the fight right there. They're executed, you know, with the strength of the entire body, you know, engaging the core, rotating into it, following through with the cut to make sure that you cause as much damage as possible, or alternatively, you create an opening for a follow-up attack. Techniques are shown for breaking certain guards and countering other techniques. That's how they got past the defense. You know, by doing that, they would be able to finish the job rather than doing little kitty scratches here and there. So this sort of thing is just won't cut it. And ironically, In a later video, I actually proved that myself in the same year, where I was using a highly realistic silicone rubber flesh analog, which is to this day the most realistic thing I've been able to come up with, if only it wasn't so expensive. And I tested that kind of cut against it, and it didn't really do anything. It did like a tiny little superficial cut, and that's it. What was my conclusion at the time? Oh well, maybe my technique is off, or the sword isn't sharp enough, or likely both. No. Oh, t-shirts must provide a lot of protection, much more than I anticipated. So yeah, guess what? If you can't even get a deep cut through a damn t-shirt, you're doing it wrong. Anyway, hope you found this amusing, and thanks for watching.